Welcome back to the show, everybody. This is the Shankly Sessions, the Liverpool podcast that we bring you each and every week out there on the upper tier. If you could head out there, smash that subscribe and bell notification button. Of course, if you're following the videos as well, hit the like button as well. Really, really important to us. Thought I'd jump on kind of a Liverpool, kind of a mix of an update, some transfer update. We're going to talk about some news coming out of the club. We're going to take a look at a potential league third kit. Give me your thoughts on that. I'm going to give you my predicted lineup for the Man City game. I'm going to preview that, of course, Carabao Cup coming up this Thursday. On the back of an amazing World Cup, and probably the best one I've witnessed in my lifetime, and certainly the best final. And we go from the highs of that final, Messi, the GOAT, lifting the trophy, the romance of what went down. We spoke about it last night on the kind of Monday mashup. If you want to check it out, it's up there in the channel. Some great content there at the moment. But we spoke about it last night. But we go from the highs of that to the Carabao Cup. Um, what a sport football is, the romance of it and stuff like that, the highs and the lows of the Carabao Cup. But I have to say, we are the tie of the round. We're away to Man City, so we're going to preview that. Looking at the team news at the moment for City, doesn't seem to be any major injury worries. I know Pep was interviewed and he was saying, he was giving out the other day that he only has 5 players and players were due back and some players were coming back this week, and you know you can't pull out that violin, Pep, and expect us to believe that 5 players. This is Man City, all those riches, massive squad. At times could feel 2 11s. So I'm not buying that for a second. A lot of your players as well perform pretty well out there in the World Cup as well. But no doubt you'll have a strong side. Pep kind of has an affection with the Carabao Cup. And it won't have pleased them last year that Liverpool picked up the 2 domestic cups. There's also been a little bit of bite between both teams, and certainly both fan bases and stuff like that. And we're going to read the letter that was produced by the Man City director and also Billy Hogan. So we'll read that out and let you know what you think on it. You can let me know in the comments. We will have a look at the tour kit, and we're going to preview the Carabao Cup now. So for Liverpool, absent at the moment, we're hearing that Arthur Melo has injured himself again. Of course, Diogo Jota, we know, is probably out till March. Luis Diaz, who of course was brought to Dubai, re-injured himself and looks like it's going to be surgery now, and he's going to be out till probably March as well by the looks of things. And Kanate is probably unavailable after just playing in the final. And what a World Cup big Ebu had. He was absolutely fantastic, and any time he played for France, he was absolutely exceptional. We talk about him a lot on the podcast, of course, and even on the general football ones that we do. Darren talks very affectionately about Ibrahim Kanate and how good he is, and he's sensational, no doubt about it. Predicted lineup for Man City, again, it's a tough one to call, depending on who's available and stuff like that. But you know what, Pep, he always has a few strings in his bow that he doesn't let you know about, but potential 11 anyway: Ortega, Lewis, Charles, Laporte, Gomez, De Bruyne, Phillips, Gundogan, Mahrez, Haaland, and Palmer. Now, that's by no means a weak side. Maybe not the side that he wants to field, but by no means a weak side. But we shall see. I probably don't think this is going to be the side. I think it'll be slightly different than that. I think there is players going to be available, and it's Pep just playing with the press, the usual why always me kind of stuff. For Liverpool, Liverpool's predicted a lineup. I've gone with it's a hard one to call. But if you look at it there, Kelleher and Nets, Trent, on the right. I've got Gomez and Matip in the middle in whatever combination, because obviously Kanate isn't available. And the talk is he's going to rest Virgil van Dijk. Now, I kind of have views on that as well. I think Virgil now, he's been out of the tournament 10 days. I'm sure he travelled back pretty quickly and he needs more time to rest. And I know sometimes Klopp doesn't want to risk these players, but this is probably the biggest tie you're going to see in this tournament this season. And I have a funny feeling any of the bigger teams that get through have a real great chance of sealing this trophy. It's a real great chance, and us as defending champions as well. we kind of have a moral obligation as well to go out that and defend that the best we can. And my biggest concern at the moment is that if we go out and we feel the weak inside somewhat, and Man City were to do a number on us, it's going to be very hard to lift that team into Monday night into a tough fixture against Aston Villa in the league and Unai Emery. And I just think it's a real concern that, we'll only be back from the World Cup. Need to get back to winning ways. Need to put in a big performance against Man City. Should have a desire to want to win this trophy again, and I'm sure we do. But we need to field the team that represents that thinking. And I just have a real concern. I know some people's concerns would be, well, some of these players are travelling back from the warm weather in Qatar. They've been there for nearly a month, and they're going back into a very cold climate to play football, and the risk of injury and this, that, and the other, and blah, 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 blah. And I get that. But very quickly, very, very quickly, in the next 2 to 3 weeks, our season could come undone and unravel very, very quickly. We could be out of Carabao Cup. We have a tough tie against Wolves. We could be out of the FA Cup if we're not careful. And again, if we don't hit the ground running in the league and go on a run, I would think we have to put a run close to, dare I say, 5, 6, 7 games together to get us back up into that situation where we want to be. Otherwise, it's going to become a top 4 race season for us. We also have 2 very tough ties against Real Madrid coming up in the Champions League, and it's not going to be easy. It's going to be a tough 2.5 months for us as the Champions League comes back, and things could unravel very, very quickly. And again, the knock-on effect of those things unraveling, winning is a habit. So the knock-on effect of those things unraveling is that could potentially have issues for us in the transfer window in terms of where players want to go and how they view us and all that kind of stuff. So it's vital that we get back into the top 4, but it's vital that we don't let the rest of the season just unravel, and it just becomes a season of a top 4 race. Gomez and Matip there, and of course Robbo out on the left. In midfield, I think Hendo has to go back in there. I think we need that bit of experience in there. Thiago on the left and Elliott on the right. And then up front, Darwin's surely going to go back in. Had a great game against AC Milan. And hats off to the boy Bobby Clark and Bietic, who did a real good job as well, and surely they'll be on the bench with a call there. Firmino in the middle, who'll still have a point to prove, no doubt, for Brazil. Should have never been left out of Brazil side. Always a great option, Bobby Firmino. And of course on the right, Mo Salah, who has kind of been out of the limelight for the guts of a month, not being involved in the World Cup. But again, another one who has plenty to prove to hit the ground running. And we need to really get our season going now. It's vital that we do it. So that's the team that I've put out there for our starting 11. In terms of prediction, I'm going to go for a 2-1 Liverpool win. I know Man City are heavily favourites. If you look at the betting, Man City are 20 to 21 on. The draw is 13 to 5, and Liverpool is 13 to 5 as well. So the odds aren't great, really. You know what I mean? We're nearly 3 to 1 to win. So the odds are heavily favoured in Man City's in their hands, but we need to see who they field, and we need to see what's Klopp's what's Pep's thinking, and who does he have available, which should be interesting. But my guess is he's going to have more players available than he's letting on, and who knows, Klopp might be in the same boat as well. All that talk of resting Virgil van Dijk and stuff like that, maybe that's not really his thinking, but let's see. Let's get into some transfer news. Of course, we know Enzo Fernandez absolutely shone and lit up, I should say. The World Cup was absolutely fantastic. But his agent had confirmed today there was a lot of talk that Liverpool had worked on a pre-contract agreement with Benfica for him. We know he's valued at somewhere around 100 million, which is absolutely massive considering what they paid for him. And that the talk was there was going to be a pre-contract agreement with Liverpool. The talk now is that that's not in place, and that is not the case. So we can pan that one off. We are continuing the pursuit of Jude Bellingham. I think of all the teams that are chasing Jude Bellingham, we've probably put in the most work. It's been very clear that he kind of has a preference as well, without saying it, of going to Liverpool. He has a great relationship, obviously, with Trent and with Jordan Henderson. His family's preference would be for him to go to Liverpool as well, from what I've read, and it would be fantastic to land him. But the problem that grows at the moment is, his valuation has grown day by day as more clubs get involved and stuff like that. And I read the latest is somewhere in the region of 130 million. And I just wonder, is 130 million, is it feasible for Liverpool to pay 130 million for a midfielder? And what else we need to do? And we know that the midfield needs a huge amount of work on it and stuff like that. So that's Jude. Concedo off Brighton, of course, is one we've been linked with a lot. A lot of transfer interest, but also interest from Chelsea as well, obviously, with the Graham Potter links there as well. Fabulous player. Certainly a player I'd love to see at Liverpool. Again, Brighton valuing the player at, I think, between 60, 65 million, which I think is a huge valuation for that player. But again, the market is driving this at the moment. And when you see the signings that happened in the summer and the money that teams paid for players, it was just off the scale. And that's where it's at. And now we're coming in on the back of a World Cup where a lot of these players have performed really, really well. And their valuation is just growing. Yeah, Makuku is the other one as well, linked with Chelsea, Man Manchester United, and ourselves. We face a three-way battle to land the Dortmund starlet. He's another one we've been linked with as well, but he could be a tough one to get over the line as well. And of course, Amrabat is the one that everyone is talking about, the Moroccan, who was absolutely sensational. He's been tipped to join Liverpool as well, and they formally made it known as well that out of Liverpool, I think Spurs and one other team, he's favouring Liverpool. So it'd be great to get the boy in. Always concerned, of course, when we go into the market after a World Cup and sign certain players. Sometimes it doesn't always work out. Dare I say, the likes of El Hadj Diouf and Salih Joe and stuff like that, no, where we pulled the trigger that time when we seen them as well. So, but let's see what happened. This looks like a fabulous player. He was absolutely top notch. And the other one that came out of nowhere that I seen today as well, where we've been tempted to get into a discussion with Juventus about signing Weston McKennie, the US player, who again had a very, very good World Cup. The USA, as we know, did really, really well. And of course, it's going there in 2026, so they wanted to put in a proper shift. But he'd be an interesting one as well. But I get the feeling it will be probably more a loan move initially, maybe, to see what happens. Things with Juventus at the moment are really up in the air. Again, I'd like us to maybe go and revisit the Rabiot situation. I know there was problems there with the mother being the agent and stuff like that and all. So I don't know what way that's going to pan out. But that will be one I think would be worth going and pursuing again. I thought Rabiot was fabulous in this World Cup, and a lot of his work went unnoticed. If you look at how good Griezmann did, a lot of the really brilliant stuff that Griezmann did was on the back of Rabiot's work. If you think of Makelele back in the day at Chelsea and stuff like that, that work he did, that was sensational for Chelsea. Rabiot was like that for France in this World Cup as well. The work he did off the ball and the work rate he put in and the breaking down of play, and he was just sensational. And it shocked me because at Juve, he's been a byproduct since that transfer. He's been really, really poor and hasn't really done a whole lot. So yeah, it's just kind of interesting. But that's really a roundup of your transfer news at the moment, who we've been linked to and stuff like that. No surprise, there's a whole collection of midfielders there. We know that that's a lot of where the issue is. But I think also we need to look at the situation, with starting out again now in the league, reassessing what we've done in the last 3-4 months, whatever it is, and going back and thinking about the things we did, some of the in-game decisions, some of the formations that we picked, some of the stuff that we did. Our issues at Liverpool at the moment, there's a lot of stuff going on there. We know the club is potentially up for sale or investment, but we haven't done ourselves any favours at times either, and that's not related to signings. It's just related to some silly things that we've done, and we need to fix that up as well. Jurgen Klopp and the management team there and stuff like that, they really need to get a handle on stuff. A manager of the stature of Jurgen Klopp shouldn't tolerate a club taking 4, 5, 6 months to appoint a club doctor. He shouldn't tolerate that one bit. And that's those kind of things as well that need to be fixed up when I talk about those things. I think it's really, really important that we don't just think that if we go out in the January market and we sign 2 or 3 midfielders, that it's all good. Yes, it's really, really important that we do that and that the squad evolves. We know we've let it age. And I think we've really got to focus on those things as well in those moments when we make decisions and stuff like that. Not being stubborn enough to not make substitutions before 60 minutes if things aren't going right. Don't hold out and expect players that are letting you down and not doing it on the pitch to suddenly not let you down and stuff like that. You know, be more hands-on in terms of that management in-game kind of stuff. It's those critical decisions sometimes that can get you over the line. Morris is in the comments. How are you, Morris? Good to see you tonight. Check out GP Productions podcast. Fantastic. Some great stuff out there at the moment. You'll also catch him on the latest voice show on the voice channel on your satellite. The 9 Lives of Vince McMahon that they put together. Morris's podcast is featured on it. Absolutely great stuff he's doing there. Onwards and upwards. Thoughts on Mason Mount being the guy to save Liverpool's midfield gap? Not a chance. Not a chance. I don't think he wouldn't be for me. And I think he'd be very, very expensive as a filler for a midfield gap. I don't get it. I think once a month, maybe once every 5-6 weeks, he crops up and he gives you an 8 out of 10. But other than that, you know, he's been going along this season and he's been dropping 3s, 4s, 5s, 6s, you know, and a sprinkling of 8s out of 10. I just think his performances have been poor. And I don't know how to put a finger on it. I don't know what it is, because we know that the boy is talented, but not for me. Not for me. Absolutely not. Morris is saying he can't wait. He can't wait till the weekend. Really looking forward to the football come back. Myself and Morris have been conversing a lot on this World Cup. We've been talking about, you know, we've had a love in for Morocco and Japan and the underdogs and all that kind of stuff. And it'd be safe to say, Morris, we've enjoyed this World Cup a hell of a lot more than what we thought we were going to enjoy it. And I suppose when you look at it on the balance of play and stuff like that, the result that came out is probably the result that we kind of expected, and the result's kind of the romantic result that sails Messi as the goat and winning the World Cup and stuff like that. But yeah, myself and Morris had many football conversations in this international festival of football. Japan, Morocco, Saudi Arabia beating Argentina from one thing to another. It was excellent and we had a good bit of crack on it. But yeah, it's great to have football back, as we call it, club football and stuff like that. And even if it's only the Carabao Cup first, we'll take it. We'll take anything at this stage, you know. Let's get into a bit of club news. Obviously, the club is working on a contract extension for Bobby Firmino. Let me know in the chat, folks. Do you think, has Bobby done enough? He's been really, really good this season, in fairness, but has he done enough to justify another year or another 2 years or another contract? Or is it a case now? Is this a case where we should be cutting strings and going, thanks very much, move on, and let's move into a different situation? Morris back in the chat. Yeah, decent. I just think it's suffered a little bit because of the time of year, more so than anything Qatar done per se. Yeah, absolutely. The timing was off, but I cannot imagine, if you look at what those teams and players went through, I can't imagine them doing that in the summer. Imagine the heat there in the summer. My God, it would be unbelievable. When we talk about the club ownership, we're talking about the sale that's up there at the moment. They did do an article in the Boston Globe, as far as now, in the early stages of December, and they were talking about they were more in favour of a high level investment than they were about a sale of the club and all this kind of thing. But the valuation of the club has been grown recently, and especially in light of the ruling in the court in relation to the European Super League and stuff like that, the valuation has seemed to be grown, and there maybe it looks like that the ownership of FSG is swaying more now towards potentially a sale. We know they've been in talks with a Qatari Saudi consortium about buying the club somewhere in the region, 3.5 billion. Massive valuation when you think what they paid for the club. They bought it on the steps of a court for 300 million. Imagine if I could tell you could buy something for 300 million 10, 12 years ago, and today be worth 3.5 billion. And sensational the way football and the way football finances has grown. Absolutely incredible, between the broadcasting and the branding and the players and the sponsorship and everything that goes with it. It's absolutely unbelievable the way the valuation has gone. But that's kind of the latest in terms of the ownership. I don't expect to get anything new in until the new year. I don't think we're going to really hear anything either. I think it's just going to mose along till eventually we get a leak that a number of bids have been put in and stuff like that, and then it starts to take a kind of a real thing. Or FSG gets up off its backside and decides whether it's actually looking for investment or whether it's looking for a sale. I think the way we behave in the transfer window might give us a better indication. And certainly we need to behave in the transfer window. There's no doubt about that. Interesting one as well. Former Liverpool defender Glenn Johnson believes the World Cup final was better than Istanbul. And there's definitely an argument for that as well. I think it was the best World Cup final I've ever witnessed. And I think the back and forth, it was sensational and stuff like that. But Istanbul was pretty sensational as well, in fairness, if you're a Liverpool fan. And claimed that Kylian Mbappe will be on Lionel Messi's level in 10 years. Now, we had a discussion about this the other day as to whether we thought Kylian Mbappe could reach that godlike status of Messi. I'm not too sure, because when you look at what Messi had achieved at the age of 23, I think it is, and what Kylian Mbappe has achieved at the age of 23, I think there's somewhat of a disparity there. I would say that Lionel Messi is a more complete footballer. And I would think, I know Graham Souness had said that he believed that Mbappe really only possesses speed, and that speed fades over time. And then what have you got? Now, I think he has a lot more than just speed. I think they're very, very similar. I was talking to Darren last night on the podcast. We were talking about, the distance in which players move or cover in a match, and that we hate that stat, because if you look at Messi and you look at him, he just strolls around most of the time. As Darren said, he's observing everything and then comes alive, boom, in that moment, and that's that sensational moment that you get. But Mbappe is very like that as well. If you look at Mbappe in the final there, I mean, for 70 minutes, basically, France did nothing anyway, practically as a team. But if you look at Mbappe, just at the same thing, just moseying around, surveying everything for that one moment to come alive. And it's interesting to see the parallels between the two. He's going to have to be absolutely sensational. And I think the one thing that's going to be a real difficulty and a stumbling block for him is staying at PSG for the rest of his career is not going to get him over that line. So he's going to have to move. When he decides he has to move, the question is, because of the finances that are there and the way his contract has evolved, there's only certain places he can move to. Now, we know he's kind of dirtied his bib a bit with Real Madrid in the way the summer debacle ran out. So whether he would be welcome there again, I'm not too sure. Barcelona are obviously going through their own turmoil. Juventus are just off the planet at the moment and being investigated. God knows what's going to happen there. And then the question is, could one of the big teams in Germany, they're not going to touch him because they don't finance that way. And in the UK, I think in the Premier League, you probably have teams there that are going to be taking over that, could afford them. But being realistic, do we see Kylian Mbappe in the Premier League anytime soon? I wouldn't have thought so. I'm not too sure, but I wouldn't have thought so. So that to me might be the stumbling block, where you have Messi, who was there. He was sensational at Barcelona. He's moved to PSG. He's been successful there. The only thing is that Kylian Mbappe, I think, could potentially go on to have a much better international career, because we know with Messi, at times he is flattered to deceive at international level. Of course, winning the World Cup now and win the Copa America and all that kind of completes it and stuff like that. But if you think about how long he's been playing at international level and how long it's taken to get to that, even though he's got there, I think Kylian Mbappe may have a better international career. And then it goes into that conversation back and forth. Well, this, that, that's that, and stuff like that. But I think he'd be hard pressed to reach Messi godlike status. But who knows? Who knows? Hopefully I'm wrong, because what it means is it's been sensational for us to witness the Ronaldo-Messi feud, if you like, over the last 20 years or whatever it is. And now if we had Kylian Mbappe and Haaland and Nunes and all these great players, hopefully, that come through, and Bellingham and all, hopefully we get another wave of this now that we can really enjoy for another 20 years. So it would be sensational. But yeah, that's all I really had in news. Just want to take a look now. If we bring up this third kit, This is the potentially leaked kit for next season, the purple with the black trim. Now, I would preface this by saying, yeah, I do like the purple shirts. I like the purple in the shirts and stuff like that. I do like it with the black trim. But I think since Nike have taken over Liverpool, in terms of the kit sponsorship and stuff like that, there's a laziness to Nike, isn't there? There's a laziness in the way they're putting kits together. They seem to be going down the road of being very, very plain at times. If you even look at Liverpool's red kit this season, it's quite plain. Not a lot has gone into it when you think of what we were getting and stuff like that. So yeah, for me it's pretty plain, but not surprising because I think Nike have gone down that route. But yeah, let me know your thoughts in the chat. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. What do you think of this tour kit? Is it for you? Do you like it? Totally sold on the color combination, but I think they could be doing a better job really in terms of the design, stuff like that. We're talking Nike here. I'm sure they have top class designers available. They should be able to put out something way better than that. But that's the tour kit. The next thing I want to talk about is this letter that was issued. I want to bring up this letter. We heard the other day that both clubs are going to get together, that there's an issue there within the fan base between City and Liverpool. And of course, we would expect that when you've got two teams that have been so competitive over the last 3 to 5 years, you're going to get a bit of needle there and stuff like that. But the clubs, I didn't think it was at this level that the clubs wanted to issue a letter to the fan bases and stuff like that. But maybe that's the level at which it had got. I thought it was quite a minority, really. But having said that, good for both clubs to get together and issue something. So Ferran Sereno and Liverpool CEO Billy Hogan got together, Man City's chief executive, to issue a letter to the fans prior to the Carabao Cup. And this is the letter that they issued. So let me know your thoughts. We write to you today on behalf of both Manchester City FC and Liverpool FC ahead of our Carabao Cup match at the Etihad Stadium later this week. As with any meeting between our clubs, it promises to be a fantastic spectacle of football. Spot on, always is. And we are sure that you are all counting down to kick off with much anticipation following the break in domestic football for the World Cup. Absolutely, 100%. The passion and enthusiasm that we see from our fans when we play each other at the Etihad or Anfield is part of what makes matches between our clubs so special. And we know you are committed to creating a stadium environment where everyone is welcomed, accepted, and has a fantastic match day experience. Really, really important. We know that in some of the matches recently it had dissected down into Hillsborough chants and stuff like that, which is just totally unacceptable. Totally unacceptable. I'm going to say it on this podcast now. If you're a football fan or a Man City fan or a Liverpool fan, none of that kind of stuff is tolerated and acceptable, and it shouldn't be. And you shouldn't call yourself a football fan if that's the depths at which you go. Regrettably, based on recent meetings between our clubs, we also know that a minority of fans are responsible for behaviours and actions that have no place in our game. We are therefore writing to ask for your full support in tackling these behaviours and to ensure that both of our clubs' good names are preserved. You can help us by reporting any incidents via the options at the bottom of this email so they can be investigated. Generally doesn't happen. But if you're standing in a stand, if I'm standing in a stand on a terrace in a seat and a guy beside me starts doing that, he's going to be told. He's going to be told. I don't need to send an email. I don't need to report that. It's the responsibility of the people beside each other to make sure that they preserve that nature of the good nature of both clubs. And that's your responsibility standing beside that, not to chime in, not to step back, take responsibility, pull a guy aside and say, that's unacceptable, shut your mouth and don't do it anymore, right? We appreciate that some fans may not be aware of the impact of their behaviours on other fans, both inside and outside the stadium, and we will continue to work with our fans on this education. That's 100% based on the Hillsborough situation in terms of what happened last time. Okay, there is people who sit in Anfield and go to away games who were dramatically affected by Hillsborough and directly affected by it and may have lost people. And they don't need to sit there listening to absolute idiots chanting this kind of stuff and bringing up stuff that's really, really hurtful and a wound that's really, really open at the moment. And they should know better. And that's what that's directed at there. There's people who go to those games, who support Liverpool, who loved Liverpool all their life, to the point where they were affected at it directly from what happened that day and stuff like that. That is not the place to be going and putting that out there now. Do not do it. Do not let yourself down. As a football fan, do not let yourself down to do that. It is, however, important for everyone to be aware that we are fully committed to dealing with unacceptable behaviours and will take action by issuing bans to those found to be responsible. 100%. 100%. You've gotten away with it a couple of times. You've been told and you've been pulled up on it now. The footage is there and it's available. It was available last time. The footage was there, available last time, of those fans chanting what they were chanting. Okay, so it's up to you then as a club to stand up and issue those bans and make it happen and make an example of those people if they do it again, that it's unacceptable, and ban them for life and see how they feel then. We have engaged the chairs from both and our respective fan groups in our discussions and have their full backing to help create the right environment for our matches. 100%. And this is good. This is good. Engaging with the fans and, laying it out there. Get it out there on the table and let's move on from this kind of nonsense. If we all stand together to report the behaviours and actions that cause harm, including inappropriate gestures, chanting, throwing of objects, as well as any and all forms of discrimination, then we can all concentrate on supporting our teams. 100%. That's what it's about. That's what it's about. Thank you for taking the time to read this email and for your commitment to help eliminate unacceptable behaviours in football. We hope you enjoy the match. I think that's a really, really good statement. And I think that lays it out there in black and white with fan involvement that this is unacceptable. Now, if you're the kind of person standing on a terrace or sitting in a seat and this is what you're up to, that should lay it out for you there in black and white. If you don't know already, it's unacceptable. The hurt and the harm that you cause following on from that, you will never know. Simple little chant where you just think you're being the Billy Big Balls or whatever it is and stuff like that, and someone goes home and is mentally affected by that to the point where they do away with themselves or commit suicide or something like that. That's on you. That will be on you directly. So take care in what you talk about. Fully support your team. Fully cheer your team on. But there's a way to win and there's a way to lose. And re-educate yourselves on both those things. That's all I'm going to say on it. But I think that's a really good statement. I think it hits home and it says that the tolerance level is not going to be there anymore. And that's what we want to hear. So there you go. So that is this week's episode of the Shankly Sessions. I will be back, I think, on Thursday night. I'll give you a match reaction and player ratings as we get back into the rhythm of it. And of course, we'll have a preview for the Aston Villa game, which I think is going to be a really, really tough game. Unai Emery is not a guy to be taken lightly. And he had Villa doing pretty well up till the break. So let's see what happens there. That's going to be a tough game. Hopefully this lad needs to be seen, doesn't he? He's a rock at the back. He had a pretty decent World Cup without being absolutely spectacular, but always solid. Until next time, if you want to check us out, the Upper Tier Podcast at gmail.com, of course, hit that up. You'll find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. If it's specifically Liverpool, it's that Session Shankly. It's the Shankly Sessions, of course, for Liverpool on the channel. We are the Upper Tier, which is the overall channel for football and stuff like that. Hope you're having a really good festive season. Hope you're all set for Christmas and you're keeping safe. Stay out of any of that weather that you're experiencing, stuff like that. It's not worth taking any super risks. Hope Santa brings you everything that you want. Of course, we will be back Thursday for a festive episode of Beat the Bookie. And we'll also be looking at our favourite Christmas movies. So get ready for that. Get in the chat and let us know what your favourite Christmas movies are and why. Even if they're not a Christmas movie, even if you want to talk about movies that you watched in your childhood around Christmas time. Doesn't have to be a Christmas movie, and let us know your thoughts on that as well. And we'll also do a preview for the Premier League and stuff like that. And any other crazy news that comes out, we'll throw it in there as well. Until next time, folks, always a pleasure bringing you these. Hit the like, hit the subscribe, hit the bell notification, continue to grow the channel, and we will talk to you on Thursday.